Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling all of the emotional damage, all the emotional wreckage left behind by Onyx Storm, the third book in Rebecca Yarros' Empyrean series. I got to say, I don't know about you, but I finished this one with a serious case of book hangover and like a million questions. Expert speaker, are you ready to dive into some theories and speculations and maybe even come up with some answers?
Oh, absolutely. Onyx Storm, definitely it threw us all for a loop, didn't it? I think Yarros is really setting us up for some major reveals in Book 4, and I am ready to unpack all the clues, every little foreshadowing moment, every cryptic little message. I am here for it.
Let's start with the ending that single-handedly broke, like all of Book Talk. I mean, the sales numbers alone are just insane. 2.7 million copies in the first week. Clearly, Yarros knows how to leave readers wanting more. But let's refresh our memories here. What were the biggest cliffhangers that left us reeling? What were the things that we just could not get over?
Well, I think for me, it was the combination of Eggson's transformation, Violet's memory loss, and that incredibly vague note. Like each one on its own, is enough to send readers into a frenzy, but all together, oh man, it's just a recipe for endless speculation.
Right, like it's almost too much. So let's break it down a little bit. Eggson's decision to fully embrace the Venan power. I mean, that's a choice that has been building throughout the entire series, right? Like there's a sense of inevitability to it, but seeing it actually play out, it was still such a punch to the gut.
Absolutely. I think what's so compelling about his entire arc is it forces us to confront the complexities of power. He believes that he is making this ultimate sacrifice to protect the people that he loves, but at what cost? He's risking his humanity, his very soul, for a power that could ultimately just consume him.
And then there's that note, they leaves for Violet. It's yours now. Talk about, right, like what, so open to interpretation. I've seen a million different theories floating around online. What's your take on that? What do you think that he's referring to?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant move by Yarros, leaving it so ambiguous, keeps us guessing, keeps us digging for clues, debating with other readers. It's fantastic. But if we consider Xaden's repeated declarations that Violet owns his soul, it's hard not to see that as a pretty significant clue, don't you think?
Ooh, that's a good point. I'm particularly intrigued by the theory that Xaden's soul is now bound to Violet's ring, almost like a Horcrux from Harry Potter. I know it might seem a little far-fetched, but given the emphasis on soul binding and magical energy transfer in this world, it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility.
I agree. I think it's definitely a theory that deserves serious consideration. We've seen objects imbued with magical power before, and the ring has always been this symbol of their connection. Plus, it adds another layer to the already complex relationship between Xaden and Malak, the god of death.
Right.
Like, could Xaden's soul be the key to Malak's return, or a weapon against him?
Those are some seriously intriguing questions. And speaking of questions, let's move on to Violet. Waking up with no memory of the past 12 hours. A wedding ring on her finger. It's a lot to process. What do you make of her decision to have Imogen wipe her memories?
Oh, it's a bold move. It's a bold move. And I think it speaks to Violet's growing strength and independence. She's not just reacting to events anymore. She's taking control, even if we don't understand her motivations yet.
Right. Like, is this a strategic play to protect herself or Xaden? Or is it a trauma response?
Yeah.
Like, I can't help but wonder if the memory wipe will backfire in some way. What if she forgets something crucial that could help Xaden?
Oh, that's definitely a possibility. Yarros is, a master at subverting our expectations, and I wouldn't put it past her to turn Violet's memory loss into this major obstacle for them to overcome.
And then there's the whole dragon drama.
Yeah.
And Darna severing her bond with Taryn, complete shock. And those 6 missing dragon eggs. I feel like Yarros just took the already chaotic storyline and just threw a wrench right into the middle of it.
The dragon bones are such a vital part of this world, both in terms of power and emotion. And Darna's decision to just abandon her bond with Perrin, it speaks to a much deeper conflict within her, a struggle between duty and desire. It raises all these questions about choice and free will. Are we truly masters of our own destinies, or are we bound by forces that are just beyond our control?
Ooh, I like where you're going with this. It's not just about Andana and Taryn. It ties into Xaden's choices, Violet's memory wipe, even the Irid's arrival. Are they all making decisions freely, or are they being manipulated by some unseen force?
That's the question, isn't it? The Irid's claim to pacifism, it feels disingenuous. Their ability to manipulate bonds, the sudden appearance, it all feels too convenient, too calculated. They're definitely playing a bigger game here, and I suspect their motives are far from altruistic.
And let's not forget about those missing dragon eggs. 6 eggs vanished without a trace. It has to be connected to the Queen of Umbriel's request, right? 12 eggs, 2 of each breed. It's too perfect. It can't be a coincidence.
Thematically, the stolen eggs, they could represent a disruption of the natural order. Dragons are revered in this world. Their bonds, sacred. The theft of their eggs suggests a violation of that sacredness, a threat to the very foundation of Empyrean society.
I am dying to know who orchestrated this whole theft. Was it the Queen of Umbriel herself? Or is there another player lurking in the shadows? And what does it even mean for the future of dragon riders if their eggs are no longer safe?
We know Yarros loves to weave these intricate plots, so it's entirely possible that there's way more to this than meets the eye. Perhaps the stolen eggs are just one piece of a much larger puzzle, a puzzle that we're only just starting to glimpse.
Speaking of puzzles, let's dive into the who's who of Vinenland. Specifically, who is Gavin's Vinen brother? Our source material seems to suggest either Garrick or Bodhi.
It's a classic case of misdirection versus foreshadowing. Yarros wants us to suspect Garrick, but if you look closely at the text, I think the clues all point toward Bodhi. His insistence that he's not Xaden's backup plan. I mean, it takes on a whole new meaning when you view it through the lens of this potential Venan transformation.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was completely thrown by that line. It felt so out of place at the time, but now it just seems like this huge glaring clue. And what about Berwyn, Satan's mysterious Vinen sage? Friend or foe, what do we think?
Berwyn is an enigma. His motives are so unclear, but his influence over Xaden is undeniable. He seems to represent both the allure and the danger of the Vinen power.
And could Violet's dream-walking abilities be the key to influencing Satan, even in his corrupted state? We know she can enter the dreams of others, but can she manipulate them? Can she reach Xaden in that space and pull him back from the brink?
That's a question that has been haunting me ever since I finished this book. Dream walking is a very powerful ability, and we've seen how easily it can be corrupted. If Violet enters Xaden's dreams, she risks encountering not just his love for her, but also the darkness that's consuming him.
It's a terrifying thought, but also incredibly hopeful. If anyone can reach Xaden, it's Violet. Their bond is unlike anything we've ever seen before, and her love might be the only force powerful enough to combat the Venan's influence.
It sets up this classic battle between light and darkness, doesn't it? Love versus hate, hope versus despair. And in true Yarros fashion, the outcome is far from certain.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Is there a cure for Xaden's Venan corruption? The Irids claim there isn't. But we have seen characters come back from supposedly impossible situations before. Is death truly absolute in this world?
That's the question that keeps me up at night. We're dealing with a world where dragons exist, magic is real, and bonds can be manipulated. To just assume that death is a fixed point might be a mistake.
And let's be real, this is a romantasy after all. We're all rooting for Xaden and Violet to get there happily ever after. But Yarros has made it very clear that she is not afraid to break our hearts.
She really has a talent for balancing romance with high stakes, keeping us emotionally invested in both the love story and the fate of the world.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've discussed the ending, Gaiden's transformation, Violet's memory wipe, the dragon drama, and those pesky Irids. But there's still so much more to unpack, especially when it comes to the emotional core of the story.
I'm particularly interested in exploring the impact of Violet's memory loss on her relationship with Xaden and the potential role of dreamwalking in their future.
That's a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive. But first, let's take a moment to just reflect on everything we've discussed so far. What stood out to you? What are your biggest questions or theories?
For me, it's the recurring theme of choice. Xaden chooses power to protect, Violet chooses to forget, and Darna chooses her heritage over her bond. Each decision ripples outward, affecting not just their own destinies, but the fate of entire kingdoms. It begs the question, are these choices truly free? Or are they influenced by forces beyond their control?
That's a fantastic point. It really gets to the heart of what Yarros is exploring in this series. And for our listener, what resonated with you the most? What are you still pondering? Hold on to those thoughts because we'll be diving deeper into the emotional complexities of Onyx Storm in the next part of our deep dive.
Picking up where we left off, that theme of choice really resonates throughout the book. Each character is grappling with decisions that have these far-reaching consequences. Not just for themselves, but for the whole world, for the entire world of Empyrean.
It really makes you wonder, right? if free will even exists in this world,
Oh.
where their destinies seem so intertwined and these powerful forces are always at play.
Exactly. Take Saturn, for example. His decision to embrace the Venan power, was that truly his choice? Or was it like a path predetermined by his lineage,
Right.
his experiences, the prophecy that's surrounding him?
Well, that's a great question. We've seen how deeply the Venin affects those who wield it,
Right.
like twisting their thoughts, their desires. Could Zayden's choice have been influenced by the Venin itself, even before he fully succumbed to it?
It's a chilling possibility, and it makes you question the motives of those around him, like Berwyn. Is he a genuine mentor, or is he manipulating Xaden to serve his own agenda?
I am so suspicious of Burin. He pops up in Zayden's dreams. He offers this cryptic advice, and he always seems to know more than he lets on. It feels like he's playing like this long game, and I don't trust his intentions at all.
Yeah, he definitely adds to the growing sense of unease surrounding the Venan. It's portrayed as both this source of immense power, but also this corrupting force. It's almost like a drug, right? Promising strength and control, but ultimately leading to addiction and destruction.
That's such a powerful analogy. And it makes me think about Violet's decision to wipe her memory. Could she have been, like, subconsciously influenced by the Venin, even if indirectly through Xaden?
That's an interesting angle. We know the Venin can cloud judgment, warp perceptions. Perhaps it subtly affected Violet's thinking, leading her to make a choice that she wouldn't have made otherwise.
And what about the consequences of that choice? I mean, she's essentially starting their relationship from scratch,
Right.
with no memory of their shared past or the depth of their feelings. Can their love truly survive such a profound loss?
That's the heart-wrenching question, isn't it? It forces us to consider the very nature of love and memory. Is love simply like a collection of memories, or is it something deeper, something that transcends conscious recollection?
I'd like to believe it's the latter.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
but but even if their love endures, how will they navigate this new dynamic? Xaden remembers everything, while Violet's essentially meeting him for the very first time, with no context for their connection.
It adds this layer of tragedy to their love story, doesn't it? It's like they're separated by this invisible wall, their past, this forbidden territory. And it really raises the stakes for their future interactions. Every word, every touch, it's imbued with this sense of loss and longing.
It makes you appreciate the scenes where they do reconnect, even if it's, on a superficial level. There's a flicker of recognition, like a spark of their former bond that just shines through, despite the memory wipe. It gives me hope that they can find their way back to each other, even if it's a different path than they envisioned.
Those moments are crucial because they remind us that their love is still there, buried beneath the surface. And it sets the stage for the potential role of dreamwalking in their future.
Yes, I'm so fascinated by the possibilities of dreamwalking. Could it be the key to unlocking Violet's lost memories? Or perhaps a way for her to connect with Xaden on this subconscious level, bypassing the barriers created by the memory wipe?
It's definitely a wild card in their story. We've seen how powerful dreamwalking can be, but also how dangerous. If Violet enters Gideon's dreams, she's not just venturing into his subconscious, she's potentially entering a battleground where the Venin is waging war for control.
I get chills just thinking about it. Imagine encountering a Venin-corrupted Aiden in the dreamscape. It would be terrifying, but also incredibly revealing. We might finally get a glimpse into his internal struggle, his fears, and his deepest desires.
And it would be a test of Violet's strength and resolve. Could she withstand the darkness within Xaden's dreams? Could she use her love and empathy to reach him, even in his corrupted state?
It's a high-stakes gamble, but one that I think she'll be willing to take. She's proven time and time again that she'll do anything to save Aiden, even if it means putting her own heart and mind at risk.
Speaking of risk, let's shift our focus to the broader political landscape for a moment. The Queen of Umbrel's request for dragon eggs, the subsequent theft, the growing tensions between the kingdoms. It feels like the stage is being set for a major conflict.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the Irid's arrival just throws another wrench into the works.
Right.
Like their ability to manipulate bonds, it adds a whole new layer of complexity to the power dynamics. Are they playing sides? Or are they manipulating everyone for their own purposes?
Their motives are still so shrouded in mystery. They claim to be peacemakers, but their actions suggest something much more calculating, more manipulative. I can't shake the feeling that they're the puppet masters, pulling the strings behind the scenes.
It makes you wonder if they're connected to those stolen dragon eggs. Could they be orchestrating these events to destabilize the kingdoms and seize control for themselves.
It's a theory that's, gaining traction among fans, and it's not without merit. The timing of their arrival, their focus on manipulating bonds, and their cryptic pronouncements about a coming change, it all just points to this deeper agenda.
And let's not forget about Andarna's decision to sever her bond with Tern. Is she truly embracing her Irid heritage? Or is she being, like, manipulated by them?
That's a crucial question. She's always been such a complex character, torn between her loyalty to her family and her desire for freedom. Her actions in this book suggest that she's finally choosing her own path. But at what cost?
Her decision has huge implications. For the Dragon Riders, the balance of power in Empyrean. If she's aligned with the Irids, it could tip the scales in their favor. And what does it mean for her relationship with Violet? Will their bond survive this betrayal?
These are questions that I'm sure Yarros will address in Book 4. She's masterful at weaving together these intricate plots and these complex character arcs, leaving us with more questions and answers at every turn.
And that's what makes her book so addictive. We're constantly on the edge of our seats, trying to piece together the puzzle, anticipate the next twist, and root for our favorite characters to overcome these impossible odds.
It's a testament to her storytelling skills that even amidst the chaos and uncertainty, there's this glimmer of hope. We see it in the unwavering love between Xaden and Violet, the resilience of the Dragon Riders, and the enduring belief that even in the darkest of times, there's always a chance for redemption.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I can't help but feel like a renewed sense of excitement for what's to come. We've explored the complex themes, we've analyzed the character choices, and we've delved into the mysteries surrounding the Irids and the stolen dragon eggs. But there's still so much more to discover, especially about the emotional core of the story and the future of Xaden and Violet's relationship.
I agree. We've laid the groundwork, we've examined the evidence, and we've considered the possibilities. Now it's time to speculate, to theorize, and to anticipate the next chapter in this epic saga.
And to our listener, what are your thoughts? What has resonated with you the most during this deep dive? What are your biggest hopes and fears for the next book? Hold on to those thoughts because we'll be addressing them in the final part of our deep dive. We've talked about all the political turmoil, the looming threats, and the overarching mysteries in Onyx Storm. But at its core, this series is a love story. So let's turn our attention to Xaden and Violet and that incredibly complicated relationship.
What fascinates me about their connection is how it endures, despite all the constant trials and tribulations that they face. I mean, they've been through more than most couples experience in a lifetime, and that's even before you factor in the Venan transformation and the memory wipe.
It really is remarkable. Even when they're physically separated,
Yeah.
you feel that pull between them, that underlying current of love and longing.
But in this book, their trust is pushed to its absolute limit. Violet wakes up with no memory of their wedding, their promises, the depth of their feelings. It's heartbreaking, but it also presents this unique opportunity, don't you think?
Yeah, I see it as a chance for them to kind of rediscover their love, to build this new foundation based on understanding and acceptance, rather than just shared history.
It raises these profound questions about love and memory. Can love truly exist without conscious recollection? Can it withstand the loss of shared experiences and intimate moments?
I mean, those are questions that philosophers have pondered for centuries, and she tackles them head on in this book, forcing us to confront our own beliefs about love and fate and the power of the human heart.
I'm particularly intrigued by the scenes where Xaden interacts with Violet after the memory wipe. He's trying to reintroduce himself, rekindle that spark, while simultaneously grappling with his own transformation and this fear of losing her completely.
It's such a delicate dance, full of unspoken emotions and this longing for what was lost. Xaden's restraint is both admirable and agonizing. He wants to just tell her everything, remind her of their love, but he knows that he can't.
It creates this sense of dramatic irony that keeps the reader on the edge of their seat. We know the depth of their connection, the sacrifices they've made for each other, but Violet is experiencing it all for the first time, with no context for the intensity of her feelings.
And that's where I think dreamwalking could play a significant role. Imagine Violet entering Xaden's dreams, accessing those hidden memories, those suppressed emotions. It could be a way for them to bridge the gap that was created by the memory wipe.
It's a tantalizing possibility, but also incredibly risky. Dreamwalking is powerful and unpredictable magic. Violet could encounter a side of Xaden that's been twisted by the venom, a darkness that could frighten or even repel her.
It's a classic dilemma, right? The desire to heal versus the potential for further harm. Does Violet risk entering that dreamscape, knowing that she might find a version of Xaden that she no longer recognizes?
It's a decision fraught with uncertainty, but one that I believe she'll ultimately make. Violet's love for Xaden is her driving force. It's what motivates her actions, her sacrifices, her unwavering belief in his inherent goodness.
She's proven time and time again that she's willing to face any danger, any obstacle, to protect him and to fight for their future.
And speaking of the future, let's circle back to that recurring theme of balance that we touched on earlier. It's woven throughout the entire narrative, from the individual character arcs to the fate of kingdoms.
Right. We see it in the opposing forces of Venin and Wing Leaders, in the delicate ecosystem of the dragons, and in the internal struggles of characters like Xaden and Andarna.
It makes you wonder if true balance is even achievable in a world where power is constantly shifting and choices are often made under duress.
That's a question that resonates far beyond the pages of this book, doesn't it? It's something we grapple with in our own lives as we navigate relationships, make decisions, and strive to find harmony amidst chaos.
Yarros doesn't offer any easy answers, but she provides a framework for understanding these complex dynamics. She encourages us to question our assumptions, to consider different perspectives, and to recognize that even in the darkest of times, there's always that glimmer of hope.
And that's what makes Onyx Storm such a powerful and thought-provoking read. It's a story that stays with you long after you finish the last page, prompting you to ponder the big questions, to re-examine your own beliefs, and to appreciate the enduring power of love, courage, and the human spirit.
It's a story that leaves you just hungry for more, desperate to know what happens next, and eager to see how Yarros will resolve these intricate plot lines and these complex character arcs.
Well, there you have it. We've dissected the ending, we've explored the themes, analyzed the characters, maybe even uncovered a few hidden clues along the way. But ultimately, the true meaning of Onyx Storm is up to each individual reader to discover.
And to our listener, we want to hear from you. What are your biggest takeaways from this deep dive? What are your burning questions or your wildest theories about Book 4? Share your thoughts, your hopes, and your fears. We're all in this together, eagerly awaiting the next chapter in this epic saga.
Until then, happy reading and theorizing. We'll be back with another deep dive soon, exploring the hidden depths of your favorite books and uncovering the secrets that lie within.